Good afternoon or morning, evening, who knows what time you've logged in to watch this live episode of Fade It with Finn. I'm kidding. Obviously, if you've logged in and just found this, we didn't wait on you. We've already taped it, but I'm your host, Tony Finn, and you have checked into Hotel WagerTalk to ingest some intel, some game day info, in this case, or this situation, Fade It with Finn, a weekly op-ed on who I believe, with reason, of course, to be profitable fades inside the NFL schedule in specific weeks and specific Sundays for the most part. Some Mondays we'll throw you up. I don't think we'll do any Thursdays because of when we tape this and when most watch this particular video. Our last episode with Fade It Within found us earning a 1-1 mark, which brings our season record to 5-3, 2-0 week 1, 0-2 week 2, 2-0 for the second time a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and then 1-1 last week. Again, 5-3 overall. We got to get better. Let's see if we can't go 2-0. Two of our losses just happened to be with New England. Again, last week with New England, one loss, and 1-1 covering on a 3-point victory in the ketchup bottle versus the Steelers. So before we get started, let me respond to my responsibilities to know my college NFL cards in full at this point of the weekend are live and available at WagerTalk, only at WagerTalk. And I have a Thursday night football run of 9-0. I mentioned 8-0 last week. I had a winner on Thursday night. If you happen to see this, it happens to be up, and there's still Thursday football yet to kick off. That plays up and available. So, and in conclusion, let me mention this. I'll mention it at the end of this episode as well. TF50, TF50 gets you 50% off anything Finn up to a 7-day all access package, and I'll remind you again at the end of this. That said, 3 games into the 2021 NFL campaign, the Jets were 0-3, coming off a 26-0 arse kicking by the Broncos at Mile High at this point last season. A week ago last season. And what we're doing is this first one is a fade of, guess who? The Jets. They were 0-3, 26-0 beat down by Denver Broncos in week 3. Now they got into week 4 and they earned an overtime victory against the Tennessee Titans. They entered week 5, which is what we're doing now, a matchup against the Atlantic Falcons in the Meadowlands with a 1-3 mark. The Week 5 event on the home turf found the 1-3 Falcons squad too much for Zach Wilson and company. It is Zach Wilson again. So Wilson threw for just 192 yards in a 27-20 loss to Matt Ryan, Kyle Pitts, Patterson, Mike Davis, et cetera, et cetera. The Jets were averaging just 6 points per game before that victory over the Titans. This year's Jets are 2-2 overall with wins over the Browns and Steelers. Now, the caveat here is the victory over Cleveland was a gift from the football gods, and Wilson and his mates needed a touchdown last weekend with 16 seconds left in the game, a 2-yard run by Breece Hall to level the record at 2-2. This offense and their losses are Adam Gase-like again, if you remember Adam Gase, averaging just over 10 points per game. The 2 wins are losses in truth, posing as victories. In truth, the meltdown against Cleveland, and again, 16 seconds last weekend. The Dolphins will have arguably the best backup signal caller in the league taking the helm for Sunday's game, this being Teddy Bridgewater. Now, Teddy, his record as a starter in this league, 33-30, is pedestrian. Against the number, really much, much better. Last year, he missed the last game of the season. He was 21st in passing yards, 19th in passing touchdowns, tied for 5th in the fewest interceptions, 14th in passing percentage or completion percentage. His 94.9 QB ranking was, I think it ranked 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Some of the stuff I've got to memory here, and I'm throwing it at you, but he was pretty good. He was really pretty good for a Denver team that didn't have a lot of weapons around him. It's different with the Dolphins. First off, they're not going to ask Teddy to do too much tomorrow. They're just not. He's going to hand the ball off to 2 guys who are very, very capable, and really they've come into form recently. Rasheem Mostert and Edmonds. Mostert getting most of the carries, with Edmonds being being a wheel back, getting some looks through the passing game. So, this is a Dolphins team that's been dominant. Now they have been really suspect defensively in certain aspects, but for the most part, this is the same Jets team. It's the same Jets team as last year. Arguably the worst team in the NFL. I would argue that probably. I say that for the sake of this fade, but they're just not very good, guys. They're not. Wilson's got a pretty good group of skill set players around him. Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Carter, Breece Hall. Breece Hall is questionable for this game, and they're probably going to be probably going to split this if he even plays. They're probably going to be using 3 different running backs against this Miami team. I don't see the Jets having a edge in time of possession. The information and you're hearing and seeing and reading, you've probably done all it, that this is a good defensive team is a mirage. It's a mirage. And calling Miami not a very good defensive team is also just not true. Who they've played has been much different than who the Jets have played. New York's 1-5 against the spread last 6 games, following a win. If you like trends, I throw these at you. New York's 3-7 as a home dog under the new coach, and they're 1-6 against the spread in the past 7 games. Over the past 5 seasons, Miami's 13-7 against the spread as a favorite, home or away. But most importantly, is that this Miami team is 8-1 overall against New York over the last 9 meetings. And Miami's 2 wins in a divisional encounter last season came by only 1 touchdown. However, this is a better Miami team than they were last year. They're the second worst pass defense in the NFL through 4 games. However, again, who their opponents were makes a big difference. And the Football Outsiders, who I respect, their DVOA on Miami is not nearly what you will read here from these major media portholes and the talking heads that lead the charge on the Jets. And I don't blame, somebody's got to lead the charge. The Dolphins this handicap's dipped from an opening 6 to a 3.5 with the announcement of Tua, who won't be active. Flat 3 still available on the fins. It's a no-brainer how to attack this game. Trusting the Jets is not easy. And the situation is the wrong side to be on. The Jets are not capable, without significant help from their opponent, which means making a lot of mistakes on game day, to play a complete game, earn a cover, yet alone a win. The early faded with Finn would be to fade the Jets and be on the Dolphins minus the points on Sunday. We'll go right into the second fade, and that is a contest between the Browns and the Chargers. The fade is to fade the Chargers. This Browns team is 2-2, and I already mentioned in the first fade with Finn, that they committed a criminal meltdown, as well as experienced some bad bounces of the ball in the game against the Jets. The Jets scored 14 points in less than 2 minutes. Not only they scored 14 points against Cleveland, they had to recover an onside kick, which is this year has been less than 6-7% is what you're looking at for success on an onside kick. Crazy 14 points in less than 2 minutes and an onside kick. The Browns have surrendered yards defensively. They have. You're going to find them also with Football Outsiders, their DVOA, as being one of the lesser, not just lesser, but at the bottom of some of the defensive variables that are important. However, they have been without 3 of their 4 starters on the offensive line. Garrett, most importantly, missed last week. That's when they were without 3. Jawan Clowney, without Garrett. Both of those guys back, it's a coup. Okay? Garrett's enough. Garrett's enough to push me well over the edge to be supporting Cleveland at home against this Chargers team that is not healthy and that's very suspect against the run. Guess what Cleveland's going to do? They're going to run the football. Run the football. The Chargers allowed almost 300 yards rushing over the last 2 games. And the strength of this Cleveland team, the offensive line and their running backs, 2 very capable running backs. Chargers 3-1 against the number this season, but are damaged goods. It's nearly impossible to back them anywhere, especially as a favorite on the road. road chalk against a Cleveland team that's getting healthier by the minute. Cleveland's going to run it down their throat. If they get a lead on the Chargers, it's game, set, and match. Without Bosa, they cannot put any pressure on Cleveland backfield. They're not going to have tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And Cleveland getting points at home. It's not the dog pound of old, but I'm telling you right now, this is one of the best plays of the weekend. Getting Cleveland at home against a Chargers team that just simply is not very good right now. Not with all their injuries. Offensive line, they can't run the football, can't stop the run, and don't have anybody to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks. The fade is on the LA Chargers, which makes you a play on the Cleveland Browns. Again, in conclusion, and until next week, remember that you can get anything, Finn, up to a 7-day all access using coupon code TF50, 50% off. And that's the way to go. In fact, if you get a 3-day pass, by the time you see this, you get a 3-day pass, all access pass, you can get all my college, all my NFL. And if you don't get Friday Night Football, you can get the Monday night game, which I'll be on. I haven't released yet, but I will be on that on that Raiders and the Chiefs contest at Arrowhead. I'm Tony Finn. It's great to have you come by, spend some time with us. And thanks to WagerTalk TV and All World producer Chris Allen. See you next week.